Oh God! Okay.
Hello, I'm Simon.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Daniel, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Simon, we are talking about I'll Be the Tornado.
Okay. You choose to identify as a jet fighter.
It gets better. So the first sentence of the description of this Wikipedia page is as follows. I'll Be the Tornado is the second studio album by American emo band Dads.
Oh, yes!
It was released on the 14th of October 2014. The next section is critical reception. I'll Be the Tornado has received critical acclaim from music critics. At Metacritic, which assigns a normalised rating out of 100 to reviews with mainstream critics, the album received an average score of 81, based on 5 reviews.
Okay, so it's niche, but it's well received in its niche. Wow. Oh, this is cool.
And this is probably going to shock and appall viewers, but I went through a little bit of an emo-y phase.
No, to be fair, I did too, and my default running playlist is 90s/2000s kind of emo music, like My Chemical Romance, Green Day, Blink-182.
Yeah.
What's some other classics that we're missing?
I had my kind of obsession was Billy Talent.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Oh man, they were really good. But like I remember this. You know, I used to have. There was a period of time that thankfully they've all been deleted now. But on my Facebook page, you'd have kind of like my profile picture would be kind of like it was no. Oh God, no. But it was kind of like it would it would be like this goth with angel wings and like oh God, it was very.
Are you serious?
It was a very dark time. I'm deadly serious. Absolutely.
I'm going to go to your Facebook right now.
I've deleted them. Don't worry, they're all gone.
What is your earliest profile picture then? Hang on. Oh, it's you as...
God knows.
Is it you as Brains? Yeah, it's you as Brains. You've deleted all of your old ones.
Yeah, a lot of them have gone.
It's that picture of you when your forehead is like 5 times the size of your face.
It's very embarrassing.
So this happened...
In my defense, that photo was edited.
At the cathedral, and like... it just... Oh my God, it's so funny. Sorry, you were trying to defend yourself.
Yeah, that photo is an edited photo. You do realise this.
It doesn't look it, though. Like
Are you kidding me? Even I know my forehead's that big, but there is no way that you can't think. Right, for viewers who are confused, I will.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, you explain.
Right, there's a photo of me that was on the front of a massive poster outside Exeter Cathedral because the male voice choir that I used to assistant direct with our friend Michael, Budley Salston male voice choir. We were doing a concert, and there was a big photo of the choir with Michael and I in the middle, and the angle at which someone angled their phone against so imagine if you were standing in front of a brick wall, and instead of taking a photo of this brick wall directly in front of it with kind of a flat lens, you went right up to the wall, then angled the phone down so you can distort the image. That's what's been done with my forehead. Now,
okay, so it's not
I'll be
edited.
the first to admit that my forehead is pretty damn sizable, okay? But there is no way, unless you're just being cruel, that you think that photo doesn't look edited.
I don't know. I'm not
Your
saying,
Honor.
but that isn't edited. It's just it's a deceitful camera angle, is all that is. It's.
I mean, to all intents and purposes, it's just like applying a distort effect, isn't it? So really, it is edited.
Can I please tweet this picture out so people know what we're talking about?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, go for it.
Right, I will. This will date when we recorded the episode, but I will tweet this because it's too funny not to. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, the picture was distorted on the what's it called on the banner anyway, like in the poster. But yeah, this person has definitely made the most of it with their phone. So we were talking about the emo phase that we both went through. Is this something that all white teenagers go through? Like, is this just something that everybody in our kind of background does?
I think it must be. I don't think it was an uncommon thing. Certainly, I think not necessarily for the age that we were, but the kind of the generation we were. Kind of there was a period.
Yeah,
I say we. I mean, you're a different generation to me. But there's
maybe
a period.
That invalidates the
that.
whole generational point. But maybe that's the point that like because how old were you roughly when you went through your emo phase?
Oh, I don't know, like 14, 15.
Yeah, so about the same time as probably everybody that I knew was like, and it was like the fringe, listening to a lot of Green Day, My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wearing quite a lot of black.
I still liked some of the music. But I feel like you look back now and you realise that like a lot of the fashion choices were questionable at best.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, unlike a mutual friend of ours who we will not name and shame, but I had straight hair, so I didn't have to use my sister's straightener to straighten my hair to give myself a fringe. We're not going to say who that was, but that's bold.
Oh.
That's a bold choice.
No, it's not a bowl cut, nearly.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Oh, that is an embarrassing picture of our friend who shall not be named. He who shall not be named. So the other thing that just to return to this Wikipedia article, because for once we've actually had an article that we're actually talking about. The band's called Dads.
The band is called Dads. Yeah.
Are they all dads?
Dads was an American math rock band from New Jersey. What?
It was math rock.
Math rock is a style of indie rock that emerged in the 1980s in the United States, influenced by post-hardcore progressive rock bands such as King Crimson and the 20th century minimal music composers such as Steve Reich. Math rock is characterized by complex, atypical rhythmic structures, including irregular stopping and starting, counterpoint, well hey, we know about that, odd time signatures, angular melodies, and extended, often dissonant chords. It bears similarities to post-rock.
So it's not really about maths?
No, sadly not.
Oh, well, I'm less interested now. But, like, because what I'd imagined was that it was a bunch of dads who got together in a band who just recorded an album for the lols and to embarrass their children.
Yeah, sadly not. These guys seem pretty successful.
Like, that would be such a dad thing to do, to just take a joke like that and just take it way too far. And everybody in the band is called, like, Todd, Bill, like, classic, for us at least, dad
Nigel
names. And they've all got like kind of beer bellies and like t-shirts that like overhang just a little bit.
They've got a veranda over the toy shop, I believe is the expression for a beer belly.
I have not heard that one before.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Veranda over the toy shop. Yeah, and then the band's like the album cover is them like. Actually, what would the album cover be? It would be like them at a golf club or something. Like,
so the "I'll Be the Tornado" album cover is a photo of what I assume is one of the band members. It's a close-up shot of his ear with some hair going over the ear.
That's very emo.
Yeah, it's all in like black and white. It's grayscale.
Oh, of course. I mean, if like the only thing it's missing is possibly a rose, which is in color, or possibly some barbed wire, maybe. Or is there any? Does the ear have eyeliner?
Sadly not. Sadly not.
It's missing that then. That is the classic look.
So the band is currently on an indefinite hiatus. It's composed of guitarist and vocalist Scott Scharinger, bassist Ryan Azada, and drummer/vocalist John Bradley. So Scott, Ryan, and John.
They've not broken up. They're just on indefinite hiatus. Which is the same thing.
Yeah, they were active from 2010 to 2015. I want to see if Dads, as a band, has a page where they're playing, and if they're doing a UK tour. If so, we're going.
The thing is, we promised so many things in this podcast, you know. We promised that we were going to play, like, 4 different games by this point, and that we were going to do this music and that music, and I feel like we shouldn't be promising that we're going to go to a gig of a genre that we didn't even know existed until just now.
They've got so they've got a Bandcamp page,
right?
Which means we can sample all their music.
I don't think we can play it in the podcast though for copyright reasons.
We'll be able to play 6 seconds at least.
All right. Can you send me a link to what
sure.
you think their best song is based on your deep appreciation of the music of this band?
Well, given that we came up with "I'll Be the Tornado," I'm going to send you "I'll Be the Tornado."
All right.
And I'll let you have the fun of... In fact, actually, here we go. Right. I'm going to read out the names of each track. We're going to choose a track, and then whichever one we like the most. Actually, no. Let's do it a more fun way. Pick a number between 1 and 10.
9.
Okay, so I'm sending you a link now. You need to play track number 9, which is "Take Back Today." 3 minutes, 45 seconds.
Oh my god. I hope you're enjoying this at home, listeners. This is... sorry, readers. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting myself.
Come on, mate.
Right, track 9. Here we go. I'm going to click play now. Okay, we got, like, kind of guitar. Oh! Okay, right. I'm just going to pause it there. I'm going to include in the edit those 6 seconds at the start there.
You made footprints on mountains.
That is...
You made footprints of me.
That is so... Oh my god, I couldn't have...
Was there feedback deliberately added into that track?
I didn't hear any. I think
Did
that
you
was just the way that you were listening to it. Possibly.
Right, okay.
I didn't hear any like whiny feedback. Well, what I did hear was a whiny vocalist, which is... So if you'd asked me to predict what that song would have sounded like, it would have been literally that. That's like... Yeah. So Blink-182 slow chords on a guitar and the name Take Back Today. And then the whiniest vocalist I think I've ever heard. Some of the other songs on this album are Fake Knees.
Yeah, I know, right?
Chewing Ghosts. You Hold
Only
Back,
You,
and
Sunburnt Jet Wings. Oh, what an amazing name!
Hang on, I'm going to have a quick listen to Sunburnt Jet Wings. I'll report in readers with what this sounds like. Right, we've got like a distorted feedback for an amp, like aggressive drumming and guitars. I'm waiting for the vocals.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It's like a really fast spoken word. Like,
oh god!
Hang on, I'm just gonna pick up this. I've got an English dictionary next to my desk, so I'll just pick up. Oh my god! I opened it at a random page. I was like, I'll just pick the first entry I look at, and the first entry is Dicky, as in Dicky.
Oh, wow.
So like this, it's like drumming. It's like aggressive drumming and guitars, and then this voice just comes over the top. Like, Dicky, agitated, former, not strong, healthy, or working reliably. Like it's just like a bad beat poem or something over the top of this music. I mean,
what have we discovered? What have we unleashed on the world?
The thing is, this album was critically acclaimed. Like, what was it on Metacritic? Like 80%?
Something like that, wasn't it? Hang on. 81.
So
the album received an average score of 81, but it was based on 5 reviews.
So, yeah, I mean, this is a very niche genre that it's playing to.
Yeah, I mean, consistently across the board on there. So, Absolute Punk, Pitchfork, Pop Matters, and punknews.org, which is amazing. Punk News has a .org. That seems like that's like the most glorious juxtaposition, and like, it's almost a oxymoron. I feel like the idea of like punk does not go with an organization. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Punk News.
They're all really high. They're all like 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5. So I think people like them.
What's some of the criticism? Do we have actual reviews that we can read out of this album?
Let's think. Hang on. I'm going to do some quick interneting. Just don't mind me while I'm interneting here, guys.
Noted. I mean, to internet is probably a verb. Is it in the? Hang on, let me just check the Oxford English mini dictionary that I have here. Gurgle, gossamer, frontier. I've gone past. I want the eyes. Thrilling stuff here. Dan is interneting whilst I use a physical paper dictionary to determine if.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Let's have a look.
These are all pretty vile. As in, they're all very, very like they're high praise, but just the manner in which they're giving the praise is cringe.
Oh, go on! I want to hear this.
Okay, so a score of 80 from Alternate Press on October 28th, 2014 says, the album's strongest moments are found in the duo's ability to live in the moment and take a deep, cleansing breath. Let's find another equally as great. Oh, here we go. Pop Matters gives another score of 80 on October 17th, 2014. Says, I'll Be the Tornado is an enrapturing album and one that you simply must hear with your mind and your heart.
Oh, God. Were these written by the people who either were in the band or are related to people in the band?
Oh, we should so write a review.
What?
Where? The Wikicast reviews.
The Wikicast. Like, 1 star. It sounded like whiny beat poetry. Incidentally, the results of my search on the internet, I'm only getting the internet as a noun rather than a verb, unfortunately. It's between interplay, noun, interaction, which is just like, I swear, probably defined on the same page, and internecine. Or internecine? No, internecine, adjective of conflict happening between members of a group. We're literally reading the dictionary. I have thought this, like, as a if we were to do like a GoFundMe or something, like we were raising money for something and we were doing live streams, I would literally do a live stream with just me reading something. I could read a dictionary if it meant that it was people donating money to charity, or like, I don't know, reading The Great Gatsby or something, like some work of classic literature that's public domain. Because I don't know, I want to tap into that sweet ASMR market with this nice microphone that I now have.
I don't know if you saw recently though. Rhett and Link of Good Mythical Morning fame did an entire episode as an ASMR. In an ASMR style.
I saw. I haven't watched any of their new stuff. I know that they've been getting funding from YouTube Red to do to expand their show. But I did see that was a title.
Because they're doing the second series now. Buddy system.
Oh no! But as well as that, Good Mythical Morning is now they've expanded that, so it's more like a talk show. For those of you who don't know, Rhett and Link are very, very big YouTubers. They got millions and millions of subscribers.
Huge.
And huge. And
huge. They do huge.
They do this thing called Good Mythical Morning, which is like a YouTube talk show, I guess. But yeah, they've been getting funding from YouTube because they're obviously trying to push that as a thing to promote on the platform. And we met.
It's kind of like it's like a drive time. It's like a drive time breakfast radio show, except there's a camera in front of them.
Yeah, basically. And they're two friends that have known each other since like before high school, I think. Like they've known each other all their lives, so it's fun.
Yeah.
But the other thing is because I saw that they'd done that video, but I haven't watched it. But I also stumbled across a whole genre of ASMR interviews with people like promoting films, and it's just like, for example, they have one with Cara Delevingne doing Suicide Squad, and she's just there like right up to the microphone, like, "My name is Cara Delevingne, and this is the sound that my shoes make when they go across the floor when I'm the Enchantress."
God.
And it's like, it's a little bit creepy. I mean, I really like ASMR, but it does.
I do if it's the right kind of ASMR.
It has to be unintentional.
Like, if it's someone, it's got to be someone who's got a really good voice, and I feel like so. This one that Rhett and Link did, they haven't quite mastered how to make whispering sound pleasant, which is quite important. Like,
yeah, it's just like that kind of. Like shivers up your spine. It's just to make you feel a bit creepy. Whereas someone like Bob Ross, you're just like, it's like sinking into a warm pool. You know, it's just perfect.
A warm wave just washes over you.
Although, actually, that's a very, very good segue, because my favourite ASMR channel at the moment is a guy called... Did I talk about this last week? A guy called David Bull, who does Japanese traditional woodblock prints.
Yes, you did. You did tell me that.
He's brilliant, because he had a 15-part series where he was talking about recreating Hokusai's The Great Wave. Because I've learned an awful lot from this series about the art form of ukiyo and what, like, all forms of Japanese print. I probably pronounced that wrong, because there's like different all the names are obviously Japanese, and it's like ukiyo is like one form, and then there's chibi, and then there's there was another piece which was like the frontispiece to a book, because, you know, like, I've learned about the history.
Is the other one called Garugamesh?
Garugamesh. Abonai.
Troti-san.
This is we've done the whole racist thing again.
Oh, damn it! Damn it!
We've really, like, it's like the well that we keep being drawn to. It's just we're two white dudes who don't really know anything about other people's cultures.
You know, in Lord of the Rings, when they awake the Balrog, it's like that's like us, except we delve too greedily and too deep into like cultural insensitivity, and instead of waking up the Balrog, we wake up racism incarnate, and it just attacks us.
Well, we're in Devon. We're in like one of the deepest, darkest bits of the UK for racism.
We're like in the deep south of America, but the English version.
Yeah. How y'all doing? It's as opposed to, "You're right, you love." Like,
"You're right, my lover."
"Who's black, sir?" "Oh, up to no good."
Like, oh God.
That I'd like to make fully clear that is a stereotype of Devon, not necessarily representative of anyone, least of all us two, because we are
certainly not.
Contrary to popular belief, not actually racist.
I know.
Although
it's come as a great surprise to readers.
I did get a Pixel Girl into some classic games grumps. Have you seen the Sad Hoshi bit that they did?
No, I don't think. Oh, well, hang on. Actually, describe it, and I probably have.
So, Game Grumps, for those of you who don't know, it's it's actually several people, but the ones that we watch are Danny Sexbang and Aaron Hansen, who do basically it's just two dudes on a couch playing games. And they did this thing playing like a classic Nintendo game where they were trying to imagine the saddest thing possible. And because their friend Ross, who's like really exuberant and everything, and they were like, well, if he's sad, like, the world's sad. And then Danny's just like, it's like a sad Japanese man. And so they had this like whole bit called Sad Hoshi, where he's had like the worst day possible, but he doesn't want to make it better. And it's like, do we have any more of that Haagen-Dazs? No, I ate it all. I'm like, oh, okay. I could go to the store and get you some. No, I don't want to put anyone else out today. Like, some things you just have to fight alone. And
I tell you what you should be watching. It's been a hilarious series so far. They've just started doing a playthrough of Stardew Valley.
Oh really? Oh no, that's a fun, relaxing.
Oh man, it's amazing because Aaron just like doesn't see the point, and Danny's just totally in love with the just adorable cuteness of the game. Like, he's like, this is just gorgeous, and Aaron's like, what's the fucking point? I could actually just be working out in my own garden. Why am I doing this?
Actually,
speaking of, what's the fucking point? Guess who's arriving tomorrow?
What you mean? Our good friend Peter, definitely not a pedo.
Peter, definitely not a pedo, and
Lily, definitely not a pedo Draper.
Yeah, Lily D. Raper.
Lily D. Raper. I think we might have to just do a special episode of the podcast. I think, like, just do like a quick thing to be like, we talk about you so much. Let's just sit down with the three of us and chat. Yeah, I am currently free up until Monday afternoon when I get. To give some context to this, I have submitted to my supervisors, to my main supervisor, a complete version of my thesis. It's 132, I think, pages long. So it's actually been trimmed down quite a bit. It was nearly 150, but I've cut a fair bit. Basically, I'm waiting to get their feedback on this final lot of feedback over the whole structure before I submit, which hopefully I'll be doing next week. Now, what might happen is because I have this meeting on Monday and then I have another meeting on Wednesday, I think it's going to be, I might actually not be submitting on that Friday if I have too much work to do. But up until that Monday, I'm actually free in the wind. So I've been doing a lot of editing and, including this. Nice. We actually do have a bit of time. We could do a little extra thing, maybe. By the time this goes out, they'll be here. So I think if you're very keen on this, email us.
I've said also, just quickly, readers, can we all take just 5 seconds to stop listening, and we're all just going to give Simon a round of applause for finally submitting it. It's 5 seconds starting now.
Now, bear in mind that isn't submitting the like properly submitting, because this is the I have done a full version, and I've drafted each chapter along the way, and I've had feedback on them from supervisors. But this is the first time it's been like complete, so I'm getting like the overall comments on the whole thing, and much as I don't want to incriminate anybody, but much as some of the supervision I've been getting has been lacking in terms of the comments, like I've told you some of the comments I've been
doing. Oh yeah, you're being very restrained, mate. Well done.
It might well be that they actually go, Jesus Christ, the apple tree. No, they might
Jesus
go.
Christ.
They might go, what are you doing? Like, you can't submit next week. There's loads of stuff to fix. But fingers crossed. At the moment, the plan is next Friday. The whole point
just for anyone who didn't get that reference from Simon, I strongly recommend you go onto YouTube, and now we're getting to the Christmas season. Look up the carol "Jesus Christ the Apple Tree." It's by a superb female composer, actually, who we don't often hear around Christmas time, because it's
her name is
male-dominated, and her name is, I can't remember,
Elizabeth Poston.
There you go. Oh, by the way, can you remember? I think in the first maybe the first or second episode of this when this podcast began, way back when, I mentioned William Billings.
Yes, Bill Billings.
Bill Billings. Ex-University Singers, a choir I conduct, who are absolutely superb, and we're doing a concert in Exeter on the 8th of December, so if anyone's about, do come along. We'll also be releasing some videos very soon, some Christmas stuff, very exciting. But I've made them do that arrangement that I found. I was like, I don't care if you don't like it. I think he's the coolest guy ever. I'm going to do one of his arrangements.
And of course, how have we not mentioned this yet? Yesterday, at the time of recording, we live streamed an Evensong from Chapel Choir.
We did.
And I've got to say, it was a very good Evensong. And as of the moment, it's done very well on Facebook. So for those of you who maybe aren't at Exeter and you've never been able to come and hear us sing, wow, it's got 2,000 views. Holy smokes. It's over an hour because it's a proper length Evensong, because there weren't 15 minutes of prayers. And it's well, you can actually see from the heat map when the music is. So there's like a Magnificat, an Nunc Dimittis, good psalms, and a fantastic anthem written by a guy who was organist at Exeter Cathedral called is it Samuel Sebastian or Sebastian Samuel Wesley?
I think it's the first one. Samuel Sebastian.
I think so. I'm just going to Google that to double check. Samuel Wesley. Called Ascribe unto the Lord, which is like 15 minutes long, and it's got some amazing moments in it. One
such amazing moment you can hear at 43 minutes, timestamped, because I have a tenor solo.
Do you? What's the tenor solo that you have?
Shameless plug. Yeah, it's the verse. You've got
oh, of course,
bass, tenor. So there's a tenor. It's one part from each part of the choir. So Edward Dunn, who I believe is currently in the bath, as I'm recording this, he sings the Deck 2 solo. I sing the Deck tenor 1 solo, and it's just a brief fiddle bit. But yeah,
the scale of the piece
also listen to.
such.
Oh my god! Listen to the responses. They are my favourite responses ever. They're amazing. They're written by a guy called Bernard Rose, who was director of music at Magdalen College, Oxford.
Thank you.
He's fab. He wrote some amazing stuff. And he's just an absolute lad, and he loved tenors. So in his responses, he writes the first tenors a separate line, and it's basically all about us, and it's super cool. Sam, we were rehearsing them last week, and we sang the first response. So as people are probably aware by now, the responses begin with "O Lord, open thou our lips, and the choir will sing back, and our mouths shall shew forth thy praise." So we sang that, and we sang it in rehearsal, and we hadn't done these responses in like probably nearly a year. It's been such a long time. And Sam, who's Sam, the other one, who the betrayer in our fan fictions, just leant over to me and we looked at each other, and he just went, "It's good to be back." I was like, yeah, it is. It's amazing. Like, we were just so happy. But they're also my favourite responses, because for once in a set of responses, you actually get to use your low range as a bass. It goes down to a bottom D relatively frequently. So Sam, every now and again, would turn, because Sam is between Dan and I. So every now and again, when I've had one of these, Sam would look at me and be like, "Yes." Like, yeah, nice. But yeah, the scale of the Ascribe unto the Lord is such that there are two separate quartets that sing in it, which is kind of fun. And yeah, so there are these moments where it's like it was, I can't remember where the script is from. It's probably from the Book of Psalms or something. But there are various things describing the heathens, and it's just like, eyes have they and see not, and hands have they but handle not. But then, like, because you're singing in a building with a really dissipative acoustic, you have to overdo everything. So the what's the tenor ones? Do you have noses have they or something like that? What's the one that you sing? Noses have they but smell not? Yeah, and then they have ears and hear not. Yeah, which is the bass one. But we're just like right into Sam's ear. I was just like, hang on, what did we? Oh, it was noses, wasn't it? Yes, it was like, noses have they and smell not, and like it's like spitting off half the choir. So yeah, that was really, really fun. So yeah, you can check it out. It's on the Chapel Facebook page. And you should definitely check it out. The words are from Psalm 96 verses 2 to 3, 5, 2 to 10, and Psalm 115 verses 3 to 8, 12 to 15, depending on that. It's various ones. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great piece of work. So, and also, I think the choir does a pretty good account of itself. So, if you've never been able to, it's a classic banger for the chapel choir, isn't it? Yeah. So, you've never been able to hear it, along with the Hugo Wickham evening service, which is Noble in B minor. Yeah. For those of you who know Hugo from the Beer Mile, for example, he really likes that piece. The Noble in B minor. He's in love with it. It's to the point of which Hugo is a first bass, but he is permitted to sing the first tenor line in the Gloria. Yeah, because he loves it so much. At which point, I just had to double down on volume, and I was pretty loud to begin with. But it's just like it's tweeting up to 11,
Yeah, it's that was really, really fun. But we've done the classic thing. We've talked about. To be fair, we have had a musical article this week, so I feel like talking about music is somewhat justified. Now
We've also been resisting from mentioning the alumni come and sing, but that's all we're going to mention of it. That's why Peter and Lily and folk like that are coming down.
Yeah, and by the time this comes out, it's like, I mean, there will be a concert on the Saturday night. Maybe check out the Chapel Facebook page if you're a very early listener and you're in Exeter. I think we should go on to the next section of this podcast, which is, of course, the newly instated and apparently quite popular film, TV, and YouTube corner, which definitely needs a slightly snappier name. But we also, very excitingly, Tapio Kirkinen, who is one of our loyal
Tapio, the
readers.
man, the legend, the myth, the just absolute mega lad.
So he sent us a bunch of jingles. Should we just include all of them? Or no?
Have you listened to them?
Yeah, I have. I really like some of them. I've got to say. I think maybe we should trial them, and if you have some feedback for whether we should include them or maybe do something a little bit different, should we just? I'll put in. I think the one that's the combination of us doing a TIE Fighter impression.
Okay.
And with that TIE Fighter passing over, I've got to say I'm a big fan of that one.
It's super. Absolutely super.
So in film, television, and YouTube news, what have you been watching, Dan?
What have I been watching? I've been finishing off the new series of Star Trek Discovery on Netflix.
Ah, yes,
I've been thoroughly enjoying that. As far as kind of film goes, I haven't. Oh no! I tell you what, I rewatched a film that I watched maybe a year, 2 years ago now. It's on Netflix. I think I went and saw it in the cinema when it came out, and it got really, really varied responses. It's called Everybody Wants Some.
Oh, I remember this coming out.
Yeah, and I don't recall it coming out as such, but I do remember Mark Kermode's review of Everybody Wants Some. It was meant to kind of really, really varied responses, because some people absolutely adored it and other people absolutely loathed it because of the kind of the ideals it addressed and the kind of people that you were hanging around with. And basically, if I was to give you a brief synopsis, it says, in 1980 Texas, a college freshman, Blake Jenner, meets his new baseball teammates, an unruly group of disco dancing, skirt chasing partiers. And it's kind of like a coming of age, and it's all set within the first week before kind of college starts. And it's very, you'll follow this group of kind of lads, basically kind of like the jocks who go around, and the kind of, as from a kind of reception kind of view, I think, I want to try and find, have you seen it, Simon?
No, I haven't.
I think maybe, yeah. So Simon, Mark's tweet was, "I hated Everybody Wants Some," but there's another review by Guy Lodge, who's another really quite good film critic, who kind of argues for the piece's kind of strengths. And I rewatched it again, and I don't think my opinion changed on it, but I felt really odd. There are moments where it's quite endearing, kind of as a kind of a viewer, but there are other points where it is just so kind of misogynistic and just overly, just not very nice, like the kind of people that the kind of people that I associated when I was at school, and this goes right the way through until my final 2 years at school. The kind of people that these guys represent were the people that I avoided. I did not like these kind of people, just because of their kind of like their ideals and the way they treated women and the way they just kind of, peacocked around. It was very. It's a really. Yeah. I don't know. If you get an opportunity, give it a watch, and I'd be really interested actually to hear some viewers' responses, because we've got some readers rather. God, we've both made that mistake today. We've got listeners. Oh, fuck's sake, readers. We've got readers who I think are incredibly, from on a kind of like an intellectual standpoint, are very well informed and have excellent opinions. And I'd be really curious to see if anyone else has watched this film, how they think and how they can juggle it. I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I wouldn't say I did. It's this weird kind of middle ground. So that's Everybody Wants Some. It's on Netflix. It's worth watching just purely to see how you think they kind of balance the kind of moral compass, if you like, of the film.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad film. It just made you thought it was unpleasant.
Yeah, at points. There are other points where it's kind of like the actual cinematography, the film making, I think is really well done.
Okay.
But there are just these times where it's just very like, you get like montage scenes of each one of the guys who've managed to kind of pull a different girl on the night, and they're all in different parts of the house, and you get some kind of weirdly overly kind of gratuitous nudity. And it's similar to, do you know, is it Blue is the Warmest Color? I think that's on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
I rewatched that recently, and I had a similar response. It's just kind of unnecessary kind of nudity, and it's a bit like almost kind of like filmed like it's filmed by like a voyeuristic kind of, I don't know. It's very odd. It was on. It's got 7.8. Blue is the Warmest Color out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah, certainly heard good things about that.
Oh my god, I can't even. Director is Abdelatif Kechiche. My god, I mean, I absolutely clearly like nailed that pronunciation.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's exactly how it's meant to be pronounced.
Yeah, a French teen forms a deep emotional and sexual connection with an older art student she met in a lesbian bar. And it's this, again, it's kind of like a coming-of-age self-discovery, but it's tarnished by this view of you can't help but get away from the fact that you feel like a lot of the filmmakers on this set were men, and they were just using it as an opportunity to almost kind of get off on the film.
So it's
really weird.
It would compare unfavorably with something like Y tu mamá tambien. Tambien, even.
I haven't seen that.
So that's the Quran coming of age one, where it's like two guys and an older woman. So it's like the same themes, but it doesn't seem to be done in such an exploitative way. But I'll have to watch that. That'd be interesting, actually. Now, hopefully, I'll have a bit more time in the future, so I can watch that.
Actually, just quickly, it's bad when I've just found the Wikipedia page and I go down to 7. The contents page, go to 7, reception. 7.1 is box office. 7.2 is critical response, and the first subcategory of critical response is concerns about graphic sex and the LGBTQ feminist response.
There you go. Yeah,
I think it's kind of like it didn't quite hit.
I mean, one of the purposes of cinema is, well, not necessarily purposes, but I think one of the roles of cinema is to push boundaries like that. Any form of art, you have to push and push what society deems acceptable, and like stuff that seems completely quaint to us. Like, what's the name of that painting with the girl on the swing? You know what I mean? It's like a French Impressionist painting, and like it was a complete scandal at the time because like you could see her ankles. You know what I mean? Like a laughing girl on a swing, and like to us now that's so passé and everything. And like, don't you think that one of the things about any art form is to do that, is to kind of, push and ask what is acceptable?
I think it has that role to an extent. I don't think that is its primary purpose, because if that's its primary purpose, then it's not really proving anything. If you're just trying to push boundaries, that's when you walk into like a modern art gallery and you've got a completely white room, and in the middle of the room there is a single tomato being lit by a blue light, and it's up to the artist to say, well, that's art. And you're like, well, yes, I mean, it is. It's whatever you deem acceptable. But and I think unless it's kind of, if it's not really serving a purpose and it's not working hand in hand with, yes, I want to push boundaries and give something an edge, but I'm doing it in conjunction with all these other things. So if it was bringing up kind of, if in combination with a really excellent script, and it was bringing up themes, and those themes worked hand in hand, and so, like the sum of the film's parts creates a kind of a certain response, rather than just saying, oh yeah, well, there's a load of really kind of graphic sex, and we're doing it because it's going to be a bit edgy. Yeah. I'm like, well,
it has to be in service to the story.
I just didn't feel. Yeah, exactly. I think that, and that's the thing. And I'm not sure it was. Very interestingly, the judging panel on this film, which included Steven Spielberg, Ang Lee, and Nicole Kidman, made an unprecedented move to award the film top prize to the two main actresses and the director.
Well, this is Blue is the Warmest Color.
Spielberg said the film is a great love story that made all of us feel privileged to be a fly on the wall to see the story of deep love and deep heartbreak evolve from the beginning. The director did not put any constraints on the narrative, and we were absolutely spellbound by the amazing performances of the two actresses, and especially the way the director observed his characters and just let the characters breathe. That's very true. It does feel incredibly natural, but there are times when you're almost kind of like, it's like you sit through 10-15 minutes of very stream of consciousness style script writing, and then you're like, oh, but don't worry, because we'll put some sex in here and it'll keep you awake.
Yeah.
That might be really harsh, but
it was used.
I don't know,
it was highlighted in a video by an amazing video. I think one of the best ones on YouTube actually, by Channel Criswell, about the use of color in storytelling, about how the color blue is used to denote the state of the relationship throughout the film.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's as film in the making. It's very good. It's clearly had a lot of thought.
Well, I think it's fantastic that we're actually able to talk about themes and deep concepts like this when relating to a film. Because do you know what I saw this week?
Oh God, yeah, I do.
I saw the Justice League.
Oh God,
which was like, I'm actually finding it quite difficult to form a coherent opinion about it because it's bad. It's really, really quite bad. And all the film reviews that I've seen have slated it for things that are completely correct. For example, the villain is called Steppenwolf. Apparently that is a legit DC character. Looks like a 90s computer game villain, and has about the same motives and acting in it. Literally, it's laughable how paper thin all the characters are. Not a single person has a character arc. There are like a few character beats, but beats don't make an arc. Like if Batman has one character beat that, oh, you're getting old, that isn't an arc. Like it's just like, from a filmmaking perspective, it makes absolutely no sense. The performances themselves, I quite like Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. In fact, I went with a friend of mine who we both know, who has a PhD, who every time Gal Gadot was on screen just went, yes. Because you're learning to enjoy the small things in the film, really.
That's interesting. Kermode said exactly the same thing, in that he thought Godot, she carried the film.
She was definitely the standout performance. I think I do like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that was fine. I just think that the problem is the film gave actors who could do really interesting things nothing to do. Particularly Jason Momoa was just there. The Flash was the character. Actually, no, that is true. The Flash did have something of an arc. He actually had a motivation, and he had like a few character points. And I was like, that's how you do.
That's Ezra Miller, right?
Yes, from We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yes, and played Thingy in Fantastic Beasts, didn't he? Played
Credence Clarity,
Credence
Chastity.
Barebone.
Whatever, I can't remember. It was named after a virtue. And he's all right. I find the character a bit annoying. He's a bit too Whedon-y. And like, as loads of people have pointed out, so the Justice League, that they with loads of reshoots, and they actually did some reshoots directed by Joss Whedon, and you can really tell when Joss Whedon takes the helm. Like, the one interesting sequence, the one part of the film, really, where I was like, okay, I'm into this now, was when, spoilers, though it's not exactly a spoiler because he's all over the promotional stuff, is when Superman comes back to life. They regenerate Superman, and he's confused, and they're like, holy shit, he's Superman, he could murder us all. So they're trying to restrain him. And Superman just outclasses everybody at their own game. So he's faster than the Flash. He's stronger than Aquaman and Wonder Woman easily. He's stronger than Cyborg, and he's about to choke out Batman. And like, it's just so laughable, like, how powerful he is, really. Like, that was the one scene where you were like, yeah, okay, this is it. This is interesting. And then it was over.
Without wanting to appear blunt, I couldn't give a monkey's toss about DC.
No, I couldn't really either.
Absolutely, and we touched on this point last week, and it's a classic case of it's a fantasy fictitious franchise. Fucking solid alliteration there, Dan. Well done. That just falls into the trap of taking itself way too seriously.
Now, you have been brought up about this. We have actually had an email about this, which we'll get to in Correspondence Corner. I mean, I like the fact they're trying to be different from Marvel. They're not just trying to slipstream behind Marvel, but they have gone.
But they're
around
being
it
different because it's shit. Like that. Without wanting to be blunt, it's different because they just do not succeed at all.
But they were trying. I think it is possible to do superhero films well and not be like Marvel. There's definite scope to do that.
Yeah.
They are going around it in the wrong way.
There's definitely... Yeah, I'm not saying that the only formula for doing a superhero film is that it's got to be a comedy.
Yeah.
or it's got to have some kind of frivolous moments. You can definitely do it. You can definitely do it seriously.
I mean, the problem is that all three films that have had Superman in, so all the DC films apart from Wonder Woman, they've just done the character as a moody alien rather than, like, this is something that Mike from Red Letter Media talks about a lot, about how the whole point is he's meant to represent hope. He's not the broody, do you bleed kind of style of superhero. And, like, there are moments in this when you do get that. And again, I'm pretty sure it's when Joss Whedon took the helm. Basically, if you want a decent review of this film, just check out the Red Letter Media review. When they start talking about the gay wedding, don't worry. There's just like a long-running narrative throughout all their videos or their movie reviews. Although, what I did make the mistake of, I made the mistake of commenting on that video saying, I just got back from watching it in the theatre and I can confirm it's trash. Now, the comments I've had in reply to this have been fantastic, including a guy who I won't name, who's called Petra Florin, who has just said, Simon Clark, fuck you, you stupid, retarded piece of trash.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite to the point, isn't it?
Very. I mean, a lot of people are like, found the Marvel fanboy. It's not necessarily trash, but it's bad. No, it's awesome. Who cares? You paid them. It's... wow, people really defend DC movies because they just assume that if you're not with me, you're against me, and because you're a Marvel fanboy.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm a fan of cinema, and it frustrates me and disappoints me when you see something that, like, DC has no excuse because it's got, to work with characters like Batman, like Superman. Your source material is incredible, and then you're just you're distilling it down to its absolute bare essential, lowest common denominator. Like, why would you do that with characters of such complexity and depth? Because I would definitely argue that DC heroes have far more depth than Marvel.
I don't know enough about the comics, but I think that's probably right.
I think they address the kind of the themes they address and the backstories of characters are it's more serious, right? Which is why you can see when they do these DC films that they are taken seriously, but to take them seriously, you've got to be able to take the character seriously, and you can't do that when you've got, the beauty of, like, some of the Avengers films is that you can, to a degree, you get to you see the importance of how the characters have to, and it is very cringe, and this is also a bit lowest common denominator, but they all have to work together to achieve a goal. And when you've seen and Kermode's spoken about this in his review, I am aware that I am basically noshing Mark Kermode off at this point. I don't care. He's spot on. I have a tremendous amount of respect for his opinions. But he says that every character is just seems to be impervious to anything. They're all flying about. Mark couldn't get over the fact that there'll be opening scenes where somebody will be standing on the top of some massive, I don't know, some scaffolding. I think that's the scene where Batman's and you're like, How do they? Oh, they all fly. Of course, they all fly because there's just a way, And it's like, oh, what? How? It's just frustrating. I know full well that I'm not going to see it. I'll wait until it comes out on DVD and then let someone else buy it, and then I'll watch it because I have no interest in watching it at all.
I do feel bad for financially supporting DC. I won't deny that. I mean, I purely went because I wanted to see how bad it was, because I didn't see Batman versus Superman because I didn't want to get a massive headache, and this did give me a headache, to be fair. But I only went to see how bad it was going to be, and it did not disappoint. It was really quite trash.
Shame.
But speaking of trash, should we go to Correspondence Corner?
Let's do it.
Right,
see what gold our readers have given us.
We'll have another jingle from Tapio coming up right now. Wasn't that a great jingle, Dan?
Oh, lovely. Absolutely loved it.
So you sounded very Aussie then, I've got to say. You sounded like the guy who plays Imperator. Oh God, what's the guy's name in Mad Max? The big baddie. Is it Imperator Joe? What's his name?
No idea.
You know the one I mean, right? The big bad guy in Mad Max.
I can't remember. I haven't seen that film in too long.
Oh, it's such a good film. So it is
a good film.
So good. Like, that's how you do an action film. I know we've jumped back into movie corner, but yeah, that's just how you do it. Immortan Joe, that was it. I was nearly there. Yeah, you sounded like him. There's some behind the scenes stuff where it's like looking at all the extras done up in all their costumes, and it's like, you look fucking marvelous, lovelies. Like that was you just then. That's how you sound.
Thanks, mate.
Well, would you like to kick off with an email from Ethan?
He says the subject is Stranger Things and superheroes. Dear Messrs. Clark and Moore, I disagree with both of you here about different things. Dan, you profess to be a Christopher Nolan fan. No. During this last podcast, you stated that when comic book films are set in our world and take themselves too seriously, you dislike them. What, then, are your thoughts on the Dark Knight trilogy? I personally greatly enjoyed the real and serious nature they presented, despite originating from comic books.
A very good question.
Simon, I hope...
Well, no, answer the man's question.
I think there is a slight exception to the rule with the Dark... Well, actually, no, there's not. During the last podcast, when comic book films are set in our world and take themselves too seriously, they are set in our world, very true, the Dark Knight trilogy is, but it's also set in a fictitious city, which is very different. There's not...
I mean,
this...
How important is that? Though?
I see the point. I see the point that Ethan's trying to make, and I agree. I really, really like the Dark Knight trilogy. I thought the final one with Bane wasn't nearly as good.
Definitely. No.
But they were good, and a lot of that, the real and serious nature they presented has a lot to do with the manner in which the film was actually filmed from a cinematography perspective. It's a dark place, but I still do think that to a degree it almost feels like it's not set in our world because you're in you're in Gotham, right?
But I mean, I'd argue that it doesn't feel anything like a Zack Snyder film. It's not like Justice League is. It's not dark in that sense. I think the cinematography is pretty realistic actually. But the key thing, arguably, with those films is nobody has superpowers. Everything is grounded in technology. I mean, even Bane, who's just it's just Tom Hardy on steroids, really. There aren't any actual superpowers in there. But I don't think that the problem. I think that they demonstrate that you can have a comic book set in because to me it feels like the real world, as in like the rest of the world exists in that film universe.
Yeah, I do want to clarify. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying more often than not, the attempt fails. The Dark Knight trilogy is, as I say, is an exception to the rule for many reasons. I do like and I am a fan of Christopher Nolan. But again, I think it's a little unfair to compare that with to use that as an example of a comic book that's set in our world because it's so different to it being set in when you've got superheroes or things, fictitious things of people flying around like New York or London, where they are just openly saying this is real. You're already in buying into Batman stuff specifically. There's a reason why they choose Gotham, right? And that it's close to home in that we recognize it as a city, but it's also not a city we know. So your suspension of disbelief is kind of aided in that sense. I mean,
basically, it's a crime drama. Really, it feels like Heat or something. The Dark Knight trilogy, it's basically like a mob. The Dark Knight is like a mob drama. Really, there's just there's just two nutters, one with face paint and one who's got hockey pants on or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's I think it's a very good point, though.
It is, yeah, it is a very good
point. Now I'm going to get grilled.
Okay. Simon, I wholeheartedly disagree with your judgment of Stranger Things 2. Both seasons are amazing, but I think I can say with confidence that I enjoyed the second one more. The mythos was, in my opinion, just as good, if not more interesting due to the Mind Flayer concept. While they are mainly fighting off the demodogs, which do recall Season 1, the integration of the hive mind makes it much more interesting. Additionally, seeing how the Mind Flayer manipulated Will and how Will was connected to the vines and demodogs via the hive mind was a very compelling plot device. As for my favourite Marvel film, I'd have to say either Iron Man or Iron Man 3 takes the cake. He's definitely my favourite Marvel superhero. Also, by the way, I agree with Dan about the Winter Soldier.
Well, I mean...
he really doesn't like you.
There we go. I completely disagree with you, Ethan. The Winter Soldier is just...
even though...
Iron Man 3 is not a great film. The third act is atrocious. Acts 1 and 2 are okay, but Iron Man 1, okay. I get that's a very good film. It started up a $1 billion franchise, so clearly it's good. But The Winter Soldier is definitely better than either of those two. But so the Stranger Things point... I don't know, I can understand why people might like it, and like I said last time, Pixel Girl likes it, and I respect her opinion hugely because she's very clever.
I also like it, but you don't respect my opinion at all.
No, because you're shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like I don't know. It wasn't compelling to me. Also, reading that paragraph, it just sounds like Tyranids, which is like, it makes me just want a 40k series, because that's what I've also been watching. I've watched, like, I found this channel that's been doing Warhammer 40,000 battle reports, and they're like 2 or 3 hour videos, and I've watched 3 of them. Yeah, that's been my viewing habits recently. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the Mind Flayer idea, I thought they were going to bring Eleven's sister, 8, whatever her actual name was, into, like, exercise Will. I thought that was the angle they were going for there, and actually, because otherwise that story thread just goes nowhere in this season. But obviously it will, like,
that was my only complaint. I thought the addition of going when she finally meets the other girl, it did feel a little like tacked on. It was suddenly like, oh, this could almost be a different series, almost like a different show. It felt so different.
It was the Doctor Strange moment in Thor Ragnarok. It was just there because it had to be the the Doctor Strange. I kind
of like that, but I really like Doctor Strange. Like,
oh yeah, I like the character, even though he is just a budget Iron Man, really. Like, I don't know. Sorry if I sound a bit weird. It's because I've been eating jelly tots, and I think I just got some stuck in my throat. I'm 27. I don't know. Like, I think we might just have to agree to disagree here. I didn't find it as compelling. Like I say, I still enjoyed the season tremendously. There are bits of it that I thought were, I mean, maybe my favorite moments were of, like, the whole thing was just seeing Destin and Steve together. Like, because they're 2 characters that I really got invested in and I really liked, and it was just them being bros. I really liked that. But I don't know if it compares to, like, the high points of season 1, like when Jonathan and Nancy are, like, with the baseball bat in the house, like they're fighting the Demogorgon. I don't know. I just thought that this season wasn't as good, but still good. But I respect your opinion, Ethan, but not yours, Dan. You're
He goes on to say, thanks, mate. He goes on to say, even though you don't celebrate it, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Ethan.
Many thanks to you we give.
Nailed it.
Happy American genocide.
Oh, God.
That's what it is. Thanksgiving is celebrating the genocide of an entire continent. And everyone's just like, oh, good, we'll have some turkey, because that's what the native people gave us before we gave them blankets riddled with smallpox.
I mean, this is. I mean, I'm sure they weren't fully aware that was what was going on. I think that you may be painting it in a slightly. I mean, it's not certainly
smallpox blankets. I'm pretty sure it was a deliberate. Actually, well, there is a Snopes article for this. Let's have a look. Because it was definitely something I've heard, and I'm spouting here without determining.
I'm certainly. Hang on, I'm worried now that I'm being painted as someone who's defending American colonialists. I mean, what they did to the Native Americans was very, very wrong. But I also feel like, Thanksgiving's been going on for such a long time now. I feel like a lot of people they're using it. Like you always hear when it crops up in the news now, it's people talking about how there's a massive rush to get home. The motorways, or sorry, the freeways are really kind of blocked up with people trying to get home and seeing family, and it's a time to kind of share in family values and things like that. And despite the fact of what the holiday may be associated with, what the values that it holds now are essentially good ones, and I like that.
Well, giving and thanking.
Yeah, but being with family, taking some time out of whatever you're doing and going home and making sure that you keep in contact and kind of nurturing your kind of platonic side.
Your familial support network.
Exactly.
So there's actually a smoking gun here. I was not expecting this. A quick wiki has revealed to me that during the siege of Fort Pitt, which was in 1763, British officers used smallpox-infected blankets to spread the disease amongst Native Americans. And, quote, it was deliberate British policy. And in fact, there's a receipt here, an invoice rather, quote, to sundries got to replace in kind those which were taken from people in the hospital to convey the smallpox to the Indians. The question is how frequently it was used, but it was definitely a tactic, which, as tactics go, is pretty atrocious. So,
well, the British were just shocking.
Oh, we still are. Let's face it. Like that one line from Pocahontas that's like, "These white men are dangerous," is possibly the most accurate in the history of Disney. So, yeah. If you are listening and you are descended from Native Americans, we wouldn't have infected. I personally, I can't speak for Dan. I wouldn't have wanted to infect your ancestors with smallpox, but I am very, very sorry that this happened because it was pretty sucky. But happy Thanksgiving, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I'm just going to eat some jelly tots whilst I'm reading this email. From Amy Williams.
For the professional.
Dear Messrs. Moore and Clark, I've been a long-time reader of the podcast. I've been meaning to email you for a while. Oh, God, it's good. But I had to, after listening to the 16th episode, after finding out Pixel Girl is from Bridge North. When you said Funicular Railway, I thought, I wonder if Bridge North is in the article. But then you mentioned Pixel Girl. I'm from Bridge North too, via Western Australia. So, a weird connection between me, you, and Pixel Girl going on here. And I found a weird sense of pride hearing my town mentioned in my favourite podcast. Well, thank you for saying we're your favourite podcast. You've clearly got great taste because you're from Bridge North. As all girls from Bridge North have great taste. Well, I mean, in men. I've got to say, it's a lovely place. It's a really, really nice town, Bridge North. If anybody gets to visit, definitely go, because it's rather pretty, got to say. And because the next question is, have either of you been there? It's very beautiful, even if it's full of an aging Tory population. Yeah, it is. I've been a couple of times now, and it is very, very nice. As you say, rather Tory, but nowhere's perfect. And yeah, lovely river, lovely like the hill side of things. You should go down. If anybody likes railways, you should go, because not only is there a funicular railway, there's also the Severn Valley Railway there. So when I went there once, oh God, did I ever tell you this story? There was they do this thing. I think it's once a month where they do a 40s weekend at the train station. So everybody's dressed up in like army uniforms and like floral dresses and stuff like that, and we pretend like we're still at war with Germany and losing. And they have music playing on a PA system, so it's all stuff like from the era, like crooners, and I suppose it's too early for doo-wop, but you know that you know the kind of music. And Pixel Girl and I and a few of her friends were walking along, and we heard this music, and then I swear to God, I was like, hang on, I recognise this piece of music. And it was Springtime for Hitler from the producers. Oh
my God, amazing.
I think the people organising it just thought, oh yeah, that sounds like the Second World War. And it's like, Rhineland's a fine land once more. Yeah, that was a very weird cognitive dissonance. Which Pixel Girl didn't understand until we went to see the production of The Producers at Exeter with our friends in it. Which, if you don't know it, is an amazing show, and you should see it if you can. It's really, really funny. But so Amy, age 22 and 9/12. Thank you for the compound fraction.
Nice.
Nice. I might have bumped into you at some point, maybe when I've been visiting. But thank you very much for your email, and you are very lucky to live in Bridge North because it's a wonderful place.
Got an email here from George. He says, "This is a hecking ruddy email, which I adore."
Thank you for not.
Dear Cosmic
that's less work for me having to censor all the swearing.
Dear Cosmic Spam haters, here is a thing. I was late for a game at the 1980 Congolium Classic, so I just had to wait in the lane listening to Hymnus Amoris in traffic. In the back seat, I had Gary S. May aboard, as well as the Darren Ford, and of course a Yonolossi Salamander stored on the floor. I don't know why, even if you ask me weekly, but tied on the roof I had Elijah Wheatley.
Very good.
Maybe it was a fun fact to show you that Walter Hummel was a snowshoe cat. Even though he doubts it, from here to Krauschwitz, it's true, there's no doubt about it. Kalapasha thinks maybe he duped us, and after all, this time he was a Levisicus?
Levisicus. Remember that was the dinosaur.
Levisicus, oh yeah. But wait a sec. Freddie Farkas, Frontier Pharmacist, already rhymes, like Data Tech does with Train Set Wreck. Oh my God, this is amazing. Now let's segue into Segway Inc. and talk about Blue Foxes, about him seeing in Eudoxis being lip-synced by these new foxes. My God!
Wow.
I actually sent this email way before last week, but you didn't read it out after talking about the history of rail transport in Mozambique. That is all. Yours angrily, George. George, that is absolute... I mean, fine work. Fine work.
I'm going to ignore the fact that your signature is in a different colour to the... It's a neon blue in Comic Sans. Outstanding. Really,
amazing.
Really great. I don't even have anything to add to that. That is, for those of you who didn't twig, that's every episode of our podcast worked into almost like a beat poem. In fact, maybe if we could do that that would be the lyrics to our emo song. We just need some guitars and some aggressive drumming. I was late for a game at the 1980 Congolium Classic. That'd be our emo album. We now have 2 emails from Megan. Getting a bit greedy, Megan, but, we'll let it slide this one time. Dear Megamind and Warden. I love... Hang on. Does this imply... Because obviously Dan's Megamind because of the forehead. Does this imply that I'm like your keeper? Is that the war?
I suppose.
I'm the warden of the forehead.
I guess so.
You two are bloody amazing. Keep up the pods, videos, and just being you. Parentheses, but Dan, stop wearing long-sleeve shirts under button-ups. She's referring to our review of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You have great fashion sense, but what? Can you explain yourself, Dan?
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was what she said.
Stop wearing long-sleeve shirts under button-ups.
Yeah.
I don't.
You did that. You did that in our review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh, yeah. It was cold outside. And I didn't want to wear... That's my really, really crazy patterned, like, late 70s, early 80s shirt that I seem to be wearing all the time with the massive lapels. That one, right?
Yeah. Yes, that one.
I think it's that one. Oh, yeah. I normally don't do that. It's just I was cold and I didn't want to put a jumper on because I like the shirt. Sorry, Megan. You're right there. I won't ever do it again. I'm sorry.
I think you're quite right there, Megan. It's disgusting. I have a question mostly for Simon because he's doing his PhD. No offense, Dan. You're an English nerd. It's adorable, but I need a science nerd for this question. Well,
no worries. I'll hand over.
Simon, you deal with a lot of physics. Gross. I'm terribly sorry. But do you think the Star Wars universe is actually plausible? Do a lot of the physics of it make sense? Giant planets blowing up other planets with that planet debris disappearing very fast. That doesn't seem real. So many diverse planets. Quick try and travel between planets. Would it work? Now, it is very funny that you should send me this email because I am currently working on a video answering one of these questions. And I won't say which one because I don't want to get nerd sniped by somebody. Although, to be fair, it's so much editing in this video. My goodness. Like, I'm not doing very much else apart from editing this.
For God's sake.
Every episode.
Mate, you're better than that. You're so much better than that.
Every episode, I swear there's been a belching. I'm so sorry, guys. It's the jelly tots. I'm 27, just to reiterate that. Yeah, like it's a lot of work doing this video. And I'm not doing anything other than editing, but it's still going to take several days. So, yeah, I won't say which one it is. The general answer is that mostly it's fine. Mostly it makes sense. Lightsabers have been done to death by other people. Like, they don't really make sense as with technology as we understand it. The fast travel.
Also, like all the explosions in space.
Oh yeah, well the fact that stuff can explode in space because the cockpits are pressurized. There will be oxygen in there.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be any fire.
Well, no, it depends on how the lasers work. If they superheat the inside of the cockpit, the laser might be hot enough to just ignite the air, and then because once you breach it, it would explode in a fiery explosion. But that depends on how the lasers work. So, that's like artistic license. I'll give them that one. What doesn't work with the starfighters actually is how maneuverable the spacecraft would be. If you actually watch stuff moving around in space, I mean, the most maneuvering really that's been done in space by manned missions was the Apollo missions. If you haven't seen Apollo 13, it shows this very nicely. Where basically at one point, after the rocket has fired off into space, there are 3 parts to it. There's a command module, service module, and the lunar module, and they're in the wrong order in the spacecraft as it takes off. So the command module and service module detach from the lunar module, spin around, and then lock back into place. That's the most complicated maneuvering that we've ever done in space as humans, and that was painstakingly slow and moving along like certain vectors, like spinning one axis, spinning along the next axis. It's not going to be like flying a Spitfire. As actually, I have realised this, I have 2 episodes of Kerbal Space Program still waiting to be edited from Saving Private Bob. That will happen. In fact, maybe whilst I'm currently free, if I finish this Star Wars video, I might get onto doing that next. We'll see. Because we certainly don't fly like X-Wing pilots, do we, Dan? When we're piloting our spacecraft.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, so to answer the question, and the other thing is the fast travel between planets. There is a reason for that within the universe. The so-called hyperparticles, I think. It is possible.
We can do it. I mean, we can. To be fair, we can do that. We can fast travel around planets as well. But you just can't do it when enemies are near.
Yes, this is true. But as Lord Baelish discovered. So yeah, that there is a way to doing that, and that's possibly a future video that I might do about fast and light travel because it is theoretically possible. Which is just like you have to kind of cheat the universe a little bit. So that's the very long and rambling answer, which will include a video at some point, which is possibly my magnum opus. I think it's the best thing I've worked on. So we'll see. And there's returning to Megan. Okay, I have one more question if you so choose to answer it. I have a secret. My voice teacher and choir director is always telling me to lift my soft palate. Sometimes they say I've done it and other times not. I can't tell a difference. What the heck is my soft palate and how the heck does one lift it? Dan?
Sure. I talk about this with GNS. So I'm co-musical director and vocal coach for the Gilbert and Sullivan Society, and then obviously the choirs I do as well. And we talk about this quite regularly. If you put your tongue along the back of your front teeth, and then slowly move your tongue backwards, you'll feel back, and then you'll suddenly go over a ridge, and your tongue will shoot up to the top of your mouth. That ridge is is it alveolar ridge? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Anyway, you'll keep going, and then you'll feel like a cavity that's quite hard, and you'll keep going back, and then it'll suddenly kind of shoot back up into almost like the back of your neck, and your tongue can't reach that far, but it'll feel much softer. That's your soft palate. The easiest way of raising it, just because it brightens the sound, and if you've got quite a kind of a nasal tone, or you've got tendencies to sing flat, you want to raise that soft palate. The easiest way of doing that when you're singing is to smile ever so slightly. If you raise the corners of your mouth and raise your eyebrows, your soft palate will naturally raise. There are other ways of doing it too. If you practice if you get like a milkshake or anything where you're drinking out of a straw and you suck through a straw, your soft palate has to raise because it stops water or liquid going up through your nasal passages. That's why it raises. Also, if you go, there's something I was reading for kind of sheets I print out for singers if they want more kind of advice from a technical thing. I should also say, these are just things that I've picked up from other directors. I'm not qualified to talk about this in any way, but I'm pretty sure what I'm saying is right. If you stand in the mirror, open your mouth, and kind of look down and look into the kind of the back of your throat and say the word. So the word is H-U-N-G, so like hung, hung like a donkey, if you will, and then hyphen A-H, so hung ah, hung ah, hung ah, hung ah. If you do that and you watch, you'll actually see your soft palate going up and down. It's a thing that kind of really affects tone and usually produces a nicer sound. It's good practice to keep it raised because it just makes the sound bright, and often is the easiest way to fix pitch, certainly within a choir. If everyone, the easiest way, just without having to do any of those kind of more strenuous exercises, is just raise your eyebrows and smile. Just not like a stupid grin, but just raise the corners of your mouth ever so slightly, and you'll feel almost like your whole face will lift, and in doing so will your soft palate.
Is Ed in the bath still?
I think so.
Unrelated question, Then moving on to Megan's second email. She says, I'm Team Simon all the way. Well, of course you are, because cats are freaking amazing. But I'm also Team Dan because of his enthusiasm about discrediting the feline species.
Thank you.
He talks about cats so much it's almost as if he likes them. You're like a boy in primary school.
I can clarify that for you, Megan. Don't worry. They are literally fucking hellspawn. But please, do continue. You're
like a boy in school. It's like, oh no, I hate girls. Oh, they're so disgusting. And you're like, in your head, you're just like a little. You have like a little shrine.
It would surprise no one that I was never that boy at school. I've always liked girls. that's just
all right.
Me. Most of my friends when I was like a boy, and this isn't not to get weirdly sexual about it, but I've always had more friends who are girls than guys. I think just because I'm quite an effeminate person, and then puberty hits like a fucking train, and there you go.
When you're 25, you'll get there, mate. It'll be okay.
Thanks, mate. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting for that train, much like I'm waiting for my letter from Hogwarts. Hopefully they'll arrive at the same time. I'll just be a very, very horny wizard. Go on.
Now that's an image, a horny wizard. Jesus Christ. Ingorgio. I get it, Dan. I too hated cats until I somehow acquired two of them. So I've included a few pics of my cats to convince you that cats are just cute balls of fluff. They are basically dogs hiding in cat skins. They play fetch, follow at my feet, and wait by my bed for me to wake up. They look adorable. You've got to admit, mate. They do look quite lovely. Including one with the most beautiful blue eyes. If anybody wants to send us pictures, send me pictures of your cats or dogs.
Or send me pictures of your dogs.
Or equally, if you have an unusual pet, send us pictures of your pets. We want to see them because they're adorable. Or even if they're not, if they're like spiders or reptiles or choir directors, like, just send us pictures because we like animals. And then she's also included a picture here, which is really interesting. She's a biology student. She describes herself as a kinesiology. I'm not very good at biology, so I'm afraid I'm probably mangling that pronunciation. But she's included a picture that she took through her microscope a few weeks ago of mitosis happening in the tip of a garlic root, and that is so cool. You can actually see the innards of the cell splitting into two. That is dope. That is really, really cool.
Yeah. I've done this in my my bio course at school. I remember doing this. We did it with onion cells, like the epidermis of an onion.
Oh, and then you dye it.
You can see them you can see them in the stages. It's very cool.
And I know that we do have several PhDs listening to this. Alex, if you're at Lathbridge, if you're still listening to this, do send us some more pictures and explain what we're looking at. So that could be a challenge for us. If possibly we could give an image to Dan, who knows nothing about high-level biology, and
hang on. What the fuck? I'd actually argue that from a mitosis standpoint, I know more than you.
Did you do it at IB?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or so maybe you should give a picture to me, and I have to try and explain what's going on. Or equally, if you're a researcher or a PhD student who and you have something interesting visual that you can send us, we'll pick whichever one of us is less qualified to talk about it, and we'll try and describe it to our readers, because that sounds like we'll definitely do it right. But thank you for your two emails, Megan, aged 19 and a quarter.
So we have an email here from Anna Arlen. The subject is Correspondence Corner, so she's nailed the category. Dear Messrs Moore and Clark, gets better, she's a Yognor and she's got the order right. Greetings all the way from sunny and unbearably hot Australia. Please send help. It's starting to melt and it's only still spring. Having finally caught up on all the episodes of the podcast, I thought I'd write to you both to let you know how much I've enjoyed listening to them so far, and to thank you for providing the entertainment to my ears while doing menial tasks around the house. The only other podcasts I usually listen to are the Triforce, Yogpod, and Hat Chat. I actually was listening to the most recent Triforce this morning while I was in the shower. I haven't finished it yet, but when I make my next cup of tea, because I've only had 4 so far today, I'll be continuing that one. And Hat Chat, and considering how often they release podcasts, looking at you, Hat Boix, I was in desperate need of something else when I found that you two had a podcast. I absolutely love listening to your delightful drabble about literally anything and hearing about life at Exeter University. I'm starting to wish I could go on exchange or something, as my life at university seems to be pretty dismal in comparison. I do have a question to ask, and apologies if anyone's asked this before, but what is your all-time favourite song/piece of music? One that you would never get tired of listening to. Mine would have to be Arrival of the Birds and Transformations by the Cinematic Orchestra. I highly recommend listening to it if you haven't before. It's simply perfect.
Oh, it's a great piece of music. That's used in Theory of Everything. On a similar line, a very similar piece, which is up there for me, would be On the Nature of Daylight by Max Richter, as used in Arrival, which just makes you cry. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, that is a really tough question to ask people like us.
That is a hard question. Yeah. How about we let's give us the week to think.
But I don't think a week will help. I don't think I can give one answer. I genuinely don't think I could give one answer.
I think I can certainly give a more informed answer next week. I'm going to say something off the top of my head, then listen back to the podcast, and then be like, what am I saying? That's absolute rubbish.
All right,
I'm going to give my answer next week, if that's okay.
All right, we will do the next episode. We will answer that, because that is really difficult.
Yeah. That is tough, but good question.
Very question. Good, Anna. Yeah.
She said, anyway, I've probably rambled on enough for now. Just wanted to say thanks for the laughs and good luck to Simon with his PhD and to Dan with his degree. Hope to write again soon. From a reader and fellow Yognaut, Anna, 22 and 1/3 years old. Oh, and dogs, by the way. Always dogs. Spot on, Anna. Well done.
You had to ruin it at the end there. It was a perfect email up until then, but,
A perfect email? So you like the Moore and Clark order?
Oh, yeah. It was bookended then by terribleness. That was...
There we go.
I'm forgetting myself. Goodness me. So, Daniel, what have we learned today? Cast your mind back.
We learnt about the emo band Dads and their album I'll Be the Tornado. We read some of their reviews and they are hilarious. We discussed our disgust at our emo phases. Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice.
We spoke about... What else did we talk about? You remember?
We got a bit too serious about smallpox at one point.
We did. That was. Oh, we had we had quite a hefty foray into film, television, and YouTube Corner, which we're still thinking for a good, catchy name for that.
Yeah,
so if anyone has any suggestions, please write to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. But that was really interesting. We spoke about I ranted for a while on Blue is the Warmest Colour and Everybody Wants Some. We spoke about Justice League. We spoke about a kind of a more in-depth discussion on why I hate DC. Then we had a pretty strong correspondence corner. I think as far as episodes goes, this was quite highbrow.
I think it's been one of those episodes where we actually talk about things, which is contrary to I think what most of us want from this podcast, which is nothingness. We want us to talk about fluff. What we've done is made the terrible mistake
high quality non-content.
Whereas now what we've done is talked low quality content. We've flipped it. So I'd like to extend a formal apology to everybody who's listened to this podcast. I'm very sorry that we actually talked about things this week. I know it's not what you're looking for.
I'll extend a informal apology.
You're just like, yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah.
That's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Blue is the Warmest Colour thoughts, film, television and YouTube Corner name suggestions, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole.
And we'll see you next time. Oh, actually, can you stop for a sec?
Yep.
I just need to swap my headphones over.
Sure.
Give me a second. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
This is me. I'm walking across the lounge. I'm picking up my little dongle so I can plug my other headphones in.
Oh, you touch that dongle, you bloody slut.
I'm gonna touch the dongle.
Rub the dongle. Rub that dongle.
Right,
boy.
hang on. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. You might start coming out of my phone, as it were. So bear with me. Yep, there you are. Coming
Happy
out of my
Thanksgiving!